Bad Barrister, and joining me, as always, is Simon Canton. Simon, hello this week. You can catch Simon at scanton on Twitter as well. And as I said, at Bad Barrister, this is episode 23. I've said that already. It's amazing. We've got to 23 episodes, and we're going to continue to talk about what we always talk about, which is TV and video games and movies. And there's actually quite an eclectic panel and some interesting discussion points to talk about this week. I think we're going to talk about some random points, but we're going to talk a little bit about some of the news coming out of Gamescom, some of the new exciting video games that are slotted into Microsoft and EA's 2015-2016 schedule, talk about what that means for Windows 10 PC gaming. And we're also going to talk about some of the TV shows we've been watching and also some of the games we've been playing, and also some of the trailers that hit, including a trailer for Deadpool, which is doing the rounds as well. But first, Simon, let's talk about what you know about Gamescom. This is obviously a show that I've been watching or paying attention to this week. But have you had, just before I talk about it, have you had an awful lot to sort of input in relation to it? Have you watched any of the streams, the YouTube videos, or is it something on your calendar at all?
Never heard of it until you mentioned it.
Okay.
It's an Xbox Expo, is it?
No, it's a general expo. So E3 is obviously a big American expo that happens every year. And Gamescom, very much, to be fair to you, has been very much the little sister of that. However, the reason that is because, one, it's in Europe, which, you know, Sony is Japanese, but as a big European base, but will do a lot of its sort of front of house in America. Obviously, Microsoft is an American company and does a lot of its front of house in America. But it's a public conference, so there were press conferences on Monday from Microsoft as well as EA, but the show opened on Tuesday. Which was also, so Microsoft on Monday, the conference, EA had a conference on Tuesday, but the show opened on Tuesday as well. Over the course of this week, there will actually be 400 members of the public going into this huge auditorium, in and out. I think it's 100 every day from Tuesday onwards, right? So
100,000, I presume you mean, not 400.
Sorry, the 400, yeah, exactly. 400,000 in total, 100,000 every day is expected, and it's meant to be one of those huge arenas in Germany. It's in Cologne, Germany. And it's like, you know, sweaty, smelly, sort of whatever is notorious. I think that's a little bit of a stereotype about gamers, but it's packed wall to wall. Sony don't have a conference this year. They have had in the past, but they'll have presence on that. And a lot of the publishers like Activision, EA will be there with their games. So
well, there's too many of these things. There's E3, there's PAX, and there's Comic-Con, and those are the main ones.
There's almost, they say, exactly, you know, it's literally the sort of con season. So even Comic-Con, which is video game centric, you know, if there's a Spider-Man game and there's a Spider-Man film, that, you know, they'll wait till there to say, oh, we've got Spider-Man on Marvel Heroes, we're introducing these new characters, etc. So there's a lot of stuff like that being announced, and there's an awful lot of conventions, but PR is such a big part of it now. I mean, we're talking about games, huge 500 million budgeted game such as Destiny, and they're saying, well, half of that went on.
Oh, did you see about Destiny, by the way?
Nolan North, the voice actor, Dinklage.
Yeah, the Dinklage got fired, or not got fired, got replaced.
Yeah, got replaced. But what's weird about it is, let's just segue into that. What's weird about that, and that was news that's kind of coming out, because Destiny, the Taken King, is a new expansion coming out, and it's kind of normal enough, and it's very specific to video games. It's interesting what you think about this. It's normal enough for. So anyway, Nolan North, who's a very experienced video game actor. I think he does Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series, etc. He does a lot of voiceover work. He is now coming in to play this robot Ghost in Destiny, and he's going to do all the voiceover stuff for the Taken King expansion. But it's not just that. He is re-recording all of the dialogue that Dinklage has done. And if you buy Destiny come November, when the Taken King comes in, you will never hear Dinklage's voice. So
Well,
this is not like the equivalent of a TV series where, oh, Charlie Sheen is no longer Two and a Half Men. Let's superimpose Ashton. This would be like superimposing digitally Ashton Kutcher on all the previous 6 seasons of Two and a Half Men and calling him Charlie, right? Okay, that's a different thing because he's a friend of Charlie's, or he's a new actor and a new character in Two and a Half Men. But so even that's different. But this is very specific to video games. You just couldn't do that. It's like actors can be recast. That's happened before. When things happen. But here's a situation where they've literally they've scrubbed this from the living memory.
Well, remember Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future got the same treatment.
Yeah, but not after the film came out.
Not after it came out, but still, they recorded 90% of the movie.
No, what they did do though is, and people forget this, is that Marty McFly's girlfriend is different in the first and second.
Yeah.
Is that right? It's his girlfriend that you see at the end of the thing is slightly different to the girl who plays his girlfriend in the movies, and I just forget that it's so long since I've had a look at that.
People made jokes about that because he leaves her on the porch outside her house, and then goes back to her in the next movie nearly immediately, and people are going, "Jesus, she changed a lot in the 5 minutes he was gone."
Exactly, but I mean that's yeah. I mean, like I said, it was Elizabeth Shrew, wasn't it, in the first movie?
Maybe I could look it up. Or
the other way around. Elizabeth Shrew was his girlfriend, but I can't remember which it was. Maybe she was for the 2 and 3, and I'm just forgetting it wrong. But
look at the mountain as well in Game of Thrones. Every shot he's in, he's a different actor. Like I'm rewatching Game of Thrones with Heidi, and it's like season 1 the mountain, season 2 the mountain. It's a different guy every time.
No, absolutely. I mean that can be, as they confuse.
Leah Thompson in the first one. By the way, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, but Leah Thompson was his mother. She stayed the same, right? That was
mother. Sorry, I'm messing it up. Sorry.
I was thinking
Elizabeth Shue in the second one.
Who? What?
Claudia Wells in the first one, and Elizabeth Shue in the second one.
So Elizabeth Shue stuck on for 2 and 3 then, and then obviously Claudia Wells was the one who got recast. Yeah, I mean, obviously there was Eric Stoltz in that as well, but he didn't have the ignominy of being sort of booted out mid whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's an interesting thing. Heard that news coming through that, but that's an interesting thing. But again, this is about some of the things we've talked about in our previous 22 episodes of this show. This is where the internet rages at things. And, when this came out in beta, they were like, oh, the wizard to the moon with some famous kind of weird thing that Dinklage said as a line, and people were complaining about him sounding robotic, which is kind of understandable since he was playing a robot, right? And
well, it's voice acting as well. Voice acting is not proper, not proper acting is the wrong word. It's not full body acting, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a different skill. And there are professional voice actors who are very good at taking delivery as opposed in a sort of a sound studio like that, and sort of trying to it's about giving different takes as well, so that you can read it in a video game. It's very hard to know what the final product is. It's hard enough to know that when you've actually got a set and you're acting, how you'll be cut and edited. But when you're doing it and the game hasn't been even made yet, I mean, it's really difficult. Some people are very, they've built an entire career over it. They're fantastic. And Nolan North, clearly fantastic. But I mean, the point here is that there's a lot of internet rage about how, poor people thought Dinklage was. And yet Destiny sold like hotcakes. And actually, now there's a revisionist history going on. But I like Dinklage. This is silly. Like, why is he doing this? He actually, whatever. I.e., the silent minority or majority who bought the game and played it had no problem with Peter Dinklage. It was a thing that a vocal minority went on about, but they still bought the game in their droves. So, who knows?
I mean, it's some of these things as well are things that make the game different. Like All Your Base, for instance, from the 80s game. Do you know that one?
No.
So there's a famous game from the late 80s, I think. I forget, it's on some Nintendo system or something. But anyway, it was translated using the equivalent of someone looking it up in a dictionary from Japanese to English. So there's famous lines in it where the bad guy, there's a spaceship, and the bad guy appears on the spaceship in holographic form and says, hello, gentlemen, now make your time. All your base are belong to us. Like, it's really badly translated. So that got turned into an internet song, which became massive, like tens of millions of views. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it.
No.
So they made an entire song called "All Your Base Are Belong to Us."
No, I must definitely must check that out. In fact, any of your listeners, there's something I haven't heard about, so you should definitely check that out. I'm sure you'll find that on YouTube. But just going back to this, just to finish it up, we won't spend too much time on what it is. It's a novel thing that this could be, and this is all it's about. There's a lot of outcry about the console gaming, and Xbox might be DRM and always online, and PS4, and they all roll back on this. And of course, PC have been dealing with this for ages. Actually, every one of us have been dealing with it for ages. If you have a phone, you're constantly online. So I don't know what the complaints are about, this idea. Believe me.
It's taking it to the nth degree. I mean, I installed Windows 10 on a laptop this week. So it's a work laptop, which is only going to run Visual Studio and Microsoft Office and stuff. So it doesn't matter if it's Windows 10 or Windows 7.
A lot of private things you need to turn off, and that is where you're going with this, right?
15 pages worth, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the trade-off is we get it for free, but we want your data. We'll let you turn it off.
Oh, it's not even free forever. It's only free for 3 years.
No, it's free.
No. So Windows 10 is free. But they've got busted now by, there was some kind of thing they were showing where it's going to be spamware after 3 years because they want you to go to Windows. So they said Windows 10 is the last version of Windows, and that's true.
Yeah.
Windows without any number is going to be the next version, and that's based on Windows 10, but it's like an updated version.
I mean, you might be correct about that, Simon. My understanding is that they can't do that anymore, that they've realized that if Apple is just doing updates for free in relation to OS, that's the only way to go forward, and it's their individual services like cloud services that they can sell space and storage, etc.
But that's I would rather spend $150 on an OS and have it for 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is, and not be bugged with all this crap.
To be right, but my understanding is your updates will be free and they'll be continuous, and you'll stay.
Oh, the updates are free. It's the nickel and diming. I mean, they already got caught. They already announced Solitaire is going to be a $10 a year subscription.
Yeah, no, it's free with ads. It's a game
with ads. It wasn't, but it's been free without ads for 20 years.
Now we're standing on the internet. It's Solitaire. You can get a different version that isn't Microsoft for free.
But it's not the game itself, Mike.
It's festival about fucking Solitaire. Are you fucking mental?
I'm saying it's a symptom. So Microsoft, since
somebody had to build it, Simon. So if they're giving it to you for free, they have to make some money out of it, or they're going to charge you.
But that's my whole point.
And they don't charge you without the advertising. So do you want to buy it? Fine. Here it is. Here's the whatever. No ad.
But my whole point is, so this whole thing is tainted by the fact that games have started doing this. So games will give you something for free, and then they will bug the crap out of you to spend money. So there's good games that do this, and there's bad games. There's good games that give you a really enjoyable game for free, and they go, but if you want to try it, like you were talking about Killer Instinct, if you want to try out this character, you want to have it for longer, well then you pay some money, but otherwise you can play the game completely free. It's fine. There's no restrictions or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're going to like Killer Instinct because there is none of this kind of like, it's not like mobile gaming where it's like, you buy Tiny Death Star and it's coming up all the time. Like, certainly Killer Instinct, things like that. I don't know. Solitaire did seem particularly obnoxious, but at the same time, I have to say, I'm not going to choose a battleground. I'm not going to die on my sword over fucking Solitaire. I mean, somebody...
No, but it's not the Solitaire. No one cares about Solitaire. Who's playing Solitaire anymore? It's the symptom. The fact that Xbox One was announced and they had all that crap they wanted to get in and they had to roll it back quickly because people...
I complain about something that actually they shouldn't have complained about, in my opinion.
People complaining about the Xbox One or about Solitaire?
DRM and all that shit is horseshit. I mean, like, it would have only been beneficial to people down the line. This is the reality of it. Like, it's not like...
So we can switch topics to DRM if you want. So DRM is a useless thing. So
yeah,
the heads of software companies, of games companies, know that DRM doesn't work. The only reason DRM is in there... Huh?
Yeah, so no, sorry, you're wrong.
So the only reason DRM is in games is because they have to say to their shareholders that they're doing something about piracy.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. They know it doesn't work, and they know it's obnoxious, and they know it turns customers off, but they have to do it anyway, or their shareholders will fire them. So really, you would hope that someone would stand up and go, listen, guys, I know you want to get your money's worth, but this is not stopping piracy. It's turning... paying customers into pirates because they get so annoyed. Like you had the Secure ROM thing 10 years ago on PC where it was wiping people's computers out. It was so vicious with its DRM. You get like all this kind of crap that it just doesn't help. It doesn't stop piracy. I mean, I was only looking before we went online at all the pirated versions of my books that are on Google. Like you can Google any name of one of my books in PDF and you see dozens and dozens of pirated versions. DRM wouldn't have stopped that. It wouldn't have helped at all.
Look, DRM's not going to stop all piracy, but I don't think but anyone to argue against somebody trying to protect their stuff, even if it doesn't work, I mean, it's almost like whatever. Okay, if it affects you, the paying customer, like i.e., like why should my experience be lesser because and I paid for the game? Sure, but I have to say, that is completely misplaced because fundamentally, and I'm not a PC gamer, but fundamentally, I presume you play Steam, right? You are a Steam user and a significant Steam user. You probably have hundreds of games. Some you've played a lot. You have played a lot of enjoyment there, and you paid a lot of money to that service, right?
Yeah.
I presume that it's a digital collection. Discs aren't being sold on PC by and large anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Steam is DRM.
Exactly. And that's all that the Xbox was doing. And it's just a check-in. Now, having 24-hour check-in, which I think was bullshit anyway. They were never saying 24-hour check-in. People thought that. What it meant was that at some stage when you turn it on, ping. And it's the same now. I bought almost all of my games digitally. So, and actually, there's an advantage. And I just want to share that with you because I think it's very important. So I go on, I'm logged into my account, it pings up and it goes, yeah, you are my, it just logs into Xbox, right, the account, and there's all my games, right? And because of that, there's something up, here I am pointing, there's something in the cloud saying, here's his games, that's where it's being stored. So if I broke my Xbox, it was thrown off the cliff, I'd buy a brand new and log in and all my games are there again, I'd have to download them again, etc. Now, one of the advantages of the Xbox is, for every digital game, not physical games, you get 2 licenses. So, and this is perfectly legal. This is not a workaround or something against terms of service. This is within terms of service. So I bought an Xbox. I buy all my games digitally. My brother has an Xbox. I log into his, right? He gets all of my games. He never has to purchase a game, which is good for him because he's trying to build his career at the moment, etc. He has everything. So there's 2 things. So there's an immediate advantage.
Can you play the games at the same time, though?
Yes. Not only that, the same game. So he can play. I can buy his collection and play, and he can play cooperatively with me.
Oh, that's good.
And it is really good. And it's actually something that Xbox didn't sell enough of because it was hard to explain, and you have to see it in practice. And you know why? It was a direct choice because you're now having back compatibility games from the old 360, and because they're old games that you might have bought digitally. They never had 2 licenses. So, for instance, that same thing doesn't work for Robert or my brother, because he doesn't have the second license. So he would have to have a backwards compatible version of Gears of War, etc., or whatever I'm playing to play cooperatively. But the Xbox games are all being done that way, and it's great. You might say, so actually, when you buy a game digitally, and the problem is the prices haven't dropped, you're paying unless you wait to pay digitally for a deal. But if you pay for this, you're going, oh yeah, well, what's the deal? You can't resell it. No, well, one, you shouldn't really resell, but there's a market there for that in the physical games. But you are effectively, for a family, getting to. So, for instance, and not just that, you can change. Now you have to set a home console, so you can't keep doing it. Like if you owned an Xbox, I couldn't go, right, log in. Here's I give you my details and you whatever. You can only log into a different Xbox 3 times a year. It's to prevent otherwise, you could always have 2 games with everybody all the time. But it's meant to be a family system. But if I'd set with you, like for instance, I gave you my details, you could do that as well, right? And that's quite good. And I'm wondering actually if that will work over Windows Live between PC. Maybe not. I don't think so, because I think it's set to home console, but we'll see. But anyway,
Steam does the same thing.
There's a lot of advantages, and actually the fear of whatever. I mean, what personal information you have on your Xbox is shag all. It's not like it's a PC.
Oh, on your Xbox, yeah, but like the PC on Windows 10, you've got everything, and if you leave all the anti-privacy stuff on, then they're collecting every keystroke and every website and everything. That's really.
But if you set up your restrictions, you do your good due diligence, right? And you just keep on the minimum, which is, say, in Steam, just a little ping to say, I'm Simon Canton, where are my Steam games? And it goes, here's your Steam games like Netflix. If you do your due diligence and turn off all the stuff, you're fine. And on an Xbox,
yeah, but 90% of people are not going to know that. So here's what happens when you install Windows 10.
You say that, but honestly, we're in 2015 now, and honestly, the people are perfectly capable of going on Twitter and raging about something. And you're 20 minutes online Google searching, they would know they prefer to shout at somebody like I'm shouting at you right now.
Trust me. Here's what happens. Here's most of the people. So my job, I go out to factories quite a lot, and we deliver IT systems. And you will get people who will say, "What's a button?" when you say press the button. You will get people who will say, "Huh?"
How old are these people?
Well, 40s and up.
I'm going to be 40 in a few months.
Yeah, and remember when we were like teenagers, how common was it to be like playing on computer games? Not that common. Like it was a French thing. So you're talking about, I don't know, say 80% of people.
We were the first generation.
Yeah, so 80% of people maybe didn't ever play computer games in our generation. And then they went to work in a factory, so they don't use a computer. They go and they, make pizzas or solar cells or whatever it happens to be. They don't use computers. So when you say, hey, just press the button with the mouse, they go, the what? With the what?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get into much of a classist thing, but everyone owns a mobile phone now. Everyone owns a smart device. Like I deal with, if you're in...
But that's a different thing.
Like different walks of life.
Alex will go up to a laptop and do this.
60, 70 years old, they know how to work computers and all that sort of stuff and whatever.
But it's required for their job, so they had to learn it.
It isn't really,
You don't have to write briefs in Microsoft Word or something.
Look, my grandmother's 85, right? If she was doing different things, maybe she would, whatever. My mother was, 55, and she could word process, but she wasn't too au fait and whatever. She should have been, right? She even did a course at one stage. Actually, she did a course, so she probably was better, at a certain time. But there's probably a time where she couldn't do much more than whatever. And I agree with you. Even when she had proficiency, her knowledge, like about surfing the net and trying to find out recipes would have been fine. Her being in the food industry, but whether or not she ever bothered to go onto websites to say, "Oh, by the way, new Windows 10," which you just clicked on. If you're just a complete noob, and that's all they do. Oh, click it on, like Apple. Oh, click the new update. That's it, right? They probably don't search through and turn off all the stuff. But equally, those people don't care about their privacy. The only thing they care about is care about whether their credit card details get stolen. 99% of people, that's the biggest thing they'd worry about.
They would care if you told them, listen, every porn website you go to on your computer is going to be logged and sent to lots of advertisers so they can figure out what kind of porn you like. They would care. They would care that the people were sharing that information.
Care about that. I mean, I wonder, I really do wonder. But anyway, we've totally segued off topic. But to simply say, look, I think some of the disadvantages are outweighed. But look, it's interesting to go on a float on that one. What's interesting about you talking about Dinklage being replaced by Nolan North is it kind of was a very good segue to open this up about one of the most exciting games we saw, at Gamescom, and it's all over YouTube at the moment, is Quantum Break. This is a game by Remedy Games, who've made the Alan Wake series before. Sam Lake is one of the creative directors at Remedy, which is a company that isn't owned by Microsoft, but has done a lot of Microsoft exclusive games like Alan Wake. Sam Lake was previously involved, Remedy, with the early Max Payne games, and there's a sort of similarity about that as well. Alan Wake was a kind of a third-person action adventure game with some sort of cinematic storytelling stuff going on in the background. And
I actually have it on Steam, but I have never played it.
It's actually very well regarded, but definitely probably didn't sell mass appeal. But there's an element about his games that's very similar to David Cage, who did Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain and Fahrenheit, or Indigo Prophecy as it's known as well in America, storytelling device. So that's the kind of Microsoft arm of their kind of equivalent to a David Cage type of a show. What's interesting is originally they cast there was a lot of motion capture in this, and originally they captured Mark Paul Gosselaar, who played Zach Morris in Saved by the Bell, but the announcement, and we've seen gameplay trailers with that body. I mean, he's never been announced as the actor, but I can look at that character and the cutscenes and go, that's Zach from whatever. He's also played some lawyer in some TV series recently enough in the last 5 years.
Yeah, Franklin Batch. We watched that.
Exactly. So I knew this, and there was other actors as well. But like literally, new reveal, Gamescom, skipped E3, new reveal, and it's Sean Ashmore. It's Lance Hendrick, who is the guy from Fringe, and also in The Wire. Littlefinger, Aidan Gillen is one of the whatever. Courtney Hope is an actress in it as well. And it's been new thing, really impressive visuals. They've got a kind of a TV series which is woven into it. So a lot of stuff with news has been coming out today, even so the game is played through the hero's role, which is Sean Ashmore. Also Dominic Moynihan, who's played Pippin or Merry in Lord of the Rings season as well. He plays Sean Ashmore's brother in the show, which is kind of unusual because Sean Ashmore actually has a twin who's also an actor. Don't know why they wouldn't pick him, but anyway, they do look a bit similar. Anyway, the idea is that the third-person thing, which has a very interesting time mechanic, will be the hero's role. The TV series will come through the perspective of the villain. The TV series will change. It will be network studio quality, they say, and it will change depending on a decision. So there's an element of kind of almost like the Telltale games. Something will happen in the action adventure part, and there'll be a sort of a divert this way to the left or to the right, and that will depend on what kind of. I mean, it's effectively like cutscenes or full motion video cutscenes, but acted.
So like what's it called, Wing Commander?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Which again, I'd love a brand new Wing Commander with all the tech that we have here. I thought it was brilliant if they could keep that spirit. It would be fantastic. But so that's exactly, and Star Citizen's like that as well. Isn't that what it's going to be? Or is it Star Citizen the guy who did Wing Commander? Or is that a different game? Anyway, so really impressive visuals. Interesting to see this new cast. Fantastic time mechanic. Very interesting even to see in gameplay where the time is spinning and you can see him looking back on, and you can see this kind of fast forwarded kind of thing, people walking around really quickly like my finger now, showing and talking to each other, and obviously some time experiment goes wrong and he's been stuck with these powers. There's guys who wear suits who can kind of walk through time similar to him, but he's obviously almost like a supercharged villain. But a really exciting game to look forward to. Coming out April 5th, they gave a release date, which is quite amazing. And very interesting game to look at. And it'll be interesting. Alan Wake eventually got a PC release, and I would not be surprised if, I think it'll stay on Xbox for a while, but I would not be surprised. I think it'll remain an Xbox exclusive. It won't go to Sony. But I would not be surprised if it eventually got a PC release on Windows 10.
Oh, it probably will. I mean, from the looks of the trailer you sent,
they're doubling down,
Like, from the looks of the trailer you sent, like, I had the opposite reaction. Like, I thought that looks like a very boring game. Because it's a cover-based shooter, again.
Yeah. With a different
like a slightly different mechanic, but we've seen it in a lot of games, manipulating time. That's been done so many times at this stage. The cutscenes were So they had the same problem that LA Noire had. Was it LA Noire or LA?
Yeah, LA Noire was the Rockstar game.
Where they're in the uncanny valley, where the characters are too close to actual human faces that you can kind of anthropomorphize them, but they're too far away from actual human faces, so they just look creepy. Was kind of the issue I had there. So I don't know. It could be a good game. I mean, I looked at a 1.5 minute trailer. It's not like I got very much out of it, but
I've been looking at it for a while. Look, it is a third person. Look, it's a cover-based shooter to a degree, and some people are saying, that's not the first time people have said that. Like I've heard that from Giant Bomb. Alan Wake was a third-person shooter, but it's a narrative story. Look, if this is just like a cover-based shooter like Max Payne, like Grand Theft Auto, or Alan Wake, it's just going to be probably fine. Yes. What's going to have to rise this to a level of, because he's aiming high here. He's saying this is an art form cinematic. Is the story has to be really interesting. Now, there is elements of what I saw in the trailer, and you only saw whatever, which looks like one of these time-bending shows, like not Back to the Future, but I'll take that as an example, where you go, if I actually think about trying to work out like how this happened, like Fringe, I would literally, my main brain would explode. And it's rare that you have those kind of really complex, how does that work kind of stuff you have, where it's almost like,
it's a dangerous line.
I can't explain it. I don't understand it. Just go with it. You just like, which happened first.
But it's a dangerous line to walk, because you have to, the creator of the show has to have worked out what actually happens and how it actually fits together. And all too often you get these time travel TV shows where you go, actually, that makes no sense. You've just created a paradox there, and you don't even know it. Like if they create a paradox and they mean to, that's fine.
But you're absolutely right. And actually, what's interesting about this game is it's even more complicated than that. Because not only does he have one story where he goes, I've worked this all out, and this makes sense, and there's no paradox. I intend there to be a paradox, which is a good point you make. And it's always an issue like that in Terminator or all these shows. And you see how James Cameron can keep it together quite well, Terminator 1 and 2. But when you start getting into, people who have lost the vision in 3, 4, and 5, and you see how that time travel can just go, shit up, like tits up completely, right? You can see how badly it can be done. But not just that, he has to do that story and keep it consistent, like you say. But then he has the problem saying, what if I give the player choice? How do I do that now?
Well, you have to limit the choice, like Telltale do. So they give you.
But the point is, if you open up the choice, so there is branching stories, you then have the added thing where I also have to make that story not have a paradox or consistent in that I intend to be. So I think there's some challenging stuff there. I think they're aiming hugely big. The fact that they recast not an unknown actor, but the fact they recast this, I think they realized that they had a good mechanical game that's graphically impressive, and they doubled down on the TV stuff, and it'll be interesting to see that. Anyway, it's an interesting game. I think it'll also come to Windows PC eventually. It's one of Microsoft's big exclusives. The cast is an amazing kind of thing. Another game that's announced, Scalebound, looks very good. 4-player co-op. It looks like RPG kind of with dragons. It's a bit of fun.
It looks like a fun game.
Fun game. It's very early. It's not coming out till late 2016. Timbleweed Park is one of the ID Xbox games that was announced, and you made a very good point. Why does it look exactly like Monkey Island or Magic? Well, it's made by Ron Gilbert, and I think he just decided, I'm going to do it exactly as it was, nostalgia-based, and obviously the story will have to be good.
Yeah, but that just, the Secret of Monkey Island got an update.
Yeah.
And that brought new life to the game, because it was unplayable in its previous form. Like, you could struggle through it. But it'd be really difficult for today's modern gamer to play the original Secret of Monkey Island.
Sure, and what's interesting is he's even kept the little mechanic down below where you have the verb mechanics at the bottom, and so he's deliberately done that. Look, I enjoyed this game. This is a brand new game. There's elements about this which I think are very Mulder and Scully and creepy, and I don't think it's a full price game. I think it's going to be a short, really nice little product. I look forward to this. we'll see. Let's wait for the reviews. But what's interesting about that is it was one of the ID at Xbox, and one of the things about all the ID at Xbox, and I think I gave you a link to a whole sizzle reel, is all of the ID at Xbox games that are announced are also going to be available on Windows 10. So there's all of those are PC and Xbox if your PC is Windows 10. So
they were by far the more interesting ones for me, at least. Like the AAA games, like cover-based shooters. Okay, I've played cover-based shooters. I don't need to see them. The indie games were the ones taking the chances. Like they were the ones that looked different from anything you've ever played before.
Yeah, so there's a game out there which is early preview on Xbox, so you can buy it kind of like they're doing a version of early access called Shelter. It's quite interesting. It's on PC as well. It's kind of like, it's a bit like Fallout Shelter, but it's not that game. You know, it was obviously in creation before Fallout 4 was announced. And it's kind of an indie-based thing where you're kind of working in a bunker. It's quite interesting. It's got that sprite-based graphics. It's quite interesting. Tomb Raider, which is a definite cover-based shooter to a certain degree, was also announced. Very impressive AA kind of thing. What they're showing in terms of video reel and sizzle reel is very like, you know, in your face. Laura stabs somebody in the neck with a bottle opener or a knife, you know, arrows, blah, blah. But it seems, you know, they're saying, look, these are the trailers we have to show. Like, this is a public event. You know, people will be bored if we're going around sneaking, you know. But actually, you can do all sorts of things. There's more puzzles. The first reboot in 2013 was, you know, very well liked. This looks like more of the same, just maybe a notch up. Looks like a good game. But again, nothing much to say other than, look, I think it's going to be a good game. Really cute game is a game was announced on the EA platform. EA are this Unravel game, which is a kind of a Yarny is this. I think it's a Swedish developer, and he kind of, some of the scenes are sort of based on his home growing up in Sweden, and this little story about this sort of doll made out of yarn. And, you know, it's basically a kind of physics-based thing. I don't know if you ever played Max and the Curse of the Brotherhood.
Max and the Curse of the Brotherhood.
I think went to PC as well. Had a very similar mechanic. I think this mechanic is much more executed better, but a very similar thing where he could swing and kind of solve puzzles in a physics-based kind of platform thing.
There was a game called Max and the Magic Marker, which was physics-based.
It was a sequel to that, which came on Xbox, and I think then may have gone to PC. Press Play Games did it as well. It's actually a fine game, and you know, I managed to beat that. But it has similarities to that. I think this is a step up, and it's a step up in terms of cuteness. Max and Magic Marker was more pixel, kind of like Wreck-It Ralph, kind of like little cutie kind of thing. Some great stuff. Cuphead, which is obviously announced in that sizzle reel, is a boss shooter, right? But it's got this kind of 1930s animation stuff. Really check that out. A lot of people are loving that. It's meant to be dead hard. Like, it looks all cute and kind of side-on.
Oh, you could see it was hard. Like, when you're playing those like side-scrolling shooting games, either in a plane or a spaceship, and you look at it and you see like 60 things all heading for your ship, then you know it's a difficult game. Like R-Type or something like that.
Which is a head. So it's almost like a Looney Tunes or, you know, Bugs Bunny type, you know, like era character, and the animations that way. And these big battle bosses. So I don't think it's like the usual thing where you get to a boss at the end of a level. I think it's the battle bosses, but the battle bosses are just throwing all this stuff at you. So it's exactly like you say. And it's meant to be like as hard as Dark Souls type of stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see that.
It was a Mickey Mouse one on Nintendo that was similar, where it had the similar 30s art style, because it was Mickey Mouse from when they invented him in 19 whatever through to the modern day. So you got to see Mickey Mouse in the 1930s animation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just before I move on, that's kind of the thing. There's a lot of stuff about Gears of War. There was some other games as well. EA obviously announced Mirror's Edge 2, or well, it's a reboot. So it's Mirror Edge Catalyst. Looks amazing, really good. I played halfway through the original game. EA obviously made a lot of announcements about FIFA and stuff like that, and Battlefront, which is the new Star Wars game, and that's all looks fine. Just Cause 3, there were some announcements there too. Mafia 3 got a
oh yeah, it'd be interesting playing that. Mafia 2 was great.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't played Mafia 2, but I mean, like, what's interesting about this one seems to be that they're setting it back in the 60s or something. I forget the era, but you know, it's got a number of different protagonists.
Well, Mafia 2 was 60s as well, I think.
Yeah, this might even be earlier. I'm not sure, but it seems like this, you know.
Well, like, Mafia 2 was 50s, if I remember correctly, because he'd come back from the war and he'd been unemployed for a while, and then
You see, this
Like,
one used to have like all along the watchtower in the trailer. Now that could be deceptive. That would make it more 70s, but like late 60s.
yeah, late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, so I think it could be that. The male soldier who's black. I think is the main protagonist. Is a woman. There's some white guy. I think there seems to be 4 different characters. There's a different section. It seems to me that there's going to be an interesting selection of protagonists there. There's going to be variety. It's not just going to be some sort of, very kind of Italian kind of American type of thing. So be interesting to see how they wrap that around. I mean, diversity is such a big issue now in games, so interesting to see that.
Yeah, Mafia 2 was totally the story that was the story and the characters. So it was almost like you were in a movie, like in The Godfather, basically, but with shooting and driving game mechanics as well. So it was an open city, and you were told you could drive anywhere you wanted, but because you were following the story and the story was time based, they were like, Jesus, we have to get over here quickly as you can. So you can go off somewhere else, but you never would, because you'd be like, well, I don't want Paulie to die, so I have to go and drive over there quickly or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know a lot of people are big fans of that series, and actually, I think I have a digital copy of the 360 version, and now with back compatibility, if it gets permission, I'll probably play it. So that leads me on to just some of the games I played and some of the games I haven't. So you must remind me to talk about King's Quest, because I haven't played that yet. So that's going to be a short answer. But I've been playing the original Gears of War. They're going to do a reboot very soon. It'll be out soon. But I'm playing the original Gears of War because I own it on Xbox 360, but it's now available through back compat on the Xbox One, and I really enjoyed it. It was kind of funny because it just flies on. It looks like an Xbox One game, not graphics. Obviously, it's a 2006 game, but it just works like an Xbox One game. It just kind of loads up. And it was kind of interesting to play that. And I never played it online cooperatively, even when it was on 360. And here I am on the Xbox One playing 360. I'm just like, someone wants to join me while I'm going through the campaign. Let's do that. And I kind of learned to do that through co-op with Robert, my brother, in Halo. I'm realizing that's the way to play a game. It's kind of cool. And I've played a few. I finished the first game, which I already had a save file which transferred over, and that was quite good. It's kind of interesting to redo that. And the other game that I kind of bought, but I haven't actually played yet, was episode 1 of King's Quest, which I think I talked about last week, and I haven't got around to playing. It's an adventure game, and this is very much the point you were making about Thimbleweed Park, maybe by Ron Gilbert, which is, well, look, the Sierra game have redone it, and it's meant to be this beautiful kind of re-updating of stuff. I've heard some really good things about it. It's got some good reviews, some mixed reviews, but by and large good. And I'm looking forward to playing a bit of that. But
even Telltale did Tales of Monkey Island, which was very good.
Yeah, they updated it, but it wasn't super whatever. I think it's pixelated. So look, I expect that Tumbleweed Park will be a short experience, but it will be.
I found something about it.
That's weird.
Your phone thinks you're talking to.
Yeah, Siri obviously thought that I was talking to it, but a short experience, and I think it'll be priced accordingly. Now, it could be like the original games, like Monkey's Island, whatever, which were hours of whatever. And the point is, if you get a good experience and the graphics are simple like that, that's fine. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean it doesn't take 400 million to make the game, and also it mightn't take as long to make the game because they're not spending hundreds of thousands doing rendered cutscenes. So we'll see.
I don't mind cartoony graphics or whatever, and even if it was just the graphics, I wouldn't mind. It was more the user interface looks like the old user interfaces, and that doesn't necessarily cost more money to use more modern user interfaces that are more intuitive.
No, but I think it allows them to do silly things like use, balloon figurine with corpse or whatever. But we'll see.
You could do that anyway. Like with a modern game, you can do that anyway.
No, totally.
They have those kind of things all the time.
One thing I must talk about is a game I definitely bought this week, and it launched on Monday, and it's called Rare Replay. And Rare is obviously a studio that was originally did a lot of Nintendo work and a lot of the console work, but was bought up by Microsoft and then worked a lot on the Kinect games and a lot of Kinect Sports stuff like that. And they got a lot of shit for that, to be perfectly honest. You know, and there's all this thing, you know, Microsoft are making you do this. They cut out the stone there. Like all studios, though, over time, and you know, the people who were there in the 1980s aren't there anymore. They're not making the key decisions. Some of them are, some of them aren't. So this idea about, you know, Rare's different, whatever. I mean, like, of course it is. Anyway, they did those games, and Connect actually, even though it was, you know, it is somewhat of a, you know, a white elephant to people, whatever. But to me, I'm a big supporter of Connect. It actually works very, very well, in my opinion. And I also think, you know, when Cortana comes on to Xbox sometime, hopefully between, well, November in the States and maybe Europe might get it later, but when voice activation doesn't just become commands, it becomes a sort of a, like a Siri where you kind of go, Cortana, send a message, you know, to Simon Canton, and it does it already. Say this, blah, 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 and it does that. Then it becomes quite useful when you're kind of playing some game and doing something at the side. And, you know, not having to leave your experience and just doing that rather than going into an app to do a message, chatting in and whatever. Look, if it works that way, we'll see.
I mean, they said it's about as accurate as Android's voice recognition thing.
Yeah, it's just that I know you
better than Siri, but about the same as Android. So it's not perfect, but
I mean, you've got Windows 10 on your laptop, right?
Yeah.
And there should be Cortana functionality if you're in America. Have they gauged it for Norway?
Oh, I didn't even check.
Yeah.
Like voice activation for me, because I've been so.
They usually do it in waves, even if you're in English and you're going, I'll take the American version, give it to me. But I think they usually gauge it. But I think that's a mistake. But like, it'll be interesting to see that. You might think about that, talk about that. Anyway, Rare Replay. So it's got all these games, and a lot of them are Xbox. A few of them are Xbox games. A few of them are even Xbox games, but were originally on N64. And instead of just porting the Xbox game, they took the original N64 version. So they've taken old games. They have 30 games for $30. Pretty good value, right? They also have documentary stuff which unlocks as you play games. I have only played one game so far, and it's called Jetpack, and it's a 1982 game. And I'm literally just doing it. You can obviously do it alphabetically, but there's a whole really cool interface and menu. It's lovely. It's really cute. You'll see videos of it. But Jetpack is just a game, and it just reminds me of arcades from 1980. It's just a guy in a jetpack. It controls really shitty. It's got this shitty graphics, and it's just like shooting things like that are coming off the screen. And the first thing you have to do is put 3 parts of a, you'll probably get a video of it here, 3 parts Rare and Jetpack, 3 parts of a shuttle together, right? So you have to collect them and pass it over. Then you have to collect fuel, and then when you fuel it up, if you can make your way down to the rocket, it just goes up, and it keeps repeating, and you're just playing for score, and it's really crappy. But I was just like, I'm going to get all the achievements in this before I move on to game number 2. And then, like, game number 2 is probably Jetpack 2, which is like the one made in 1995, and it's a little bit more upgraded. Then they've got Pro-Am Racing, which is a game which I kind of think I might have played this back in the day. These are all like ZX Spectrum graphics. You know,
yeah. The boys, I know what you mean. Like the boys had, I think it was on PlayStation 3. It might have been on Nintendo, but they bought like the same kind of thing, but like 500 games from the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, they're basic crappy games, but they kept them entertained for a while. Or Good Old Games does the same. But
and because they've been treated each one of them like with a bit of care, and actually because I haven't played, maybe I played one of them before, like, you know. No, I owned one before, but never played it, which was Perfect Dark Zero. And because of that, they've done the achievements. I've just gone through them, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of entertaining because there's a thing, and there's a mode to kind of do the achievements, and you do that, you move on to the next game. Like Battletoads, I've heard of before, but I never played a Battletoads game. And some of the stuff looks like Double Dragon, it looks like shit, but it looks really good. I'm looking forward to actually getting to that game and playing that one. Obviously, this Conqueror's Bad Fur Day is meant to be a really good thing. There's the Banjo-Kazooie games, all of them, I've never played them. So they're meant to be quite good. There's Perfect Dark, which is it's the game after GoldenEye, which is meant to be very, very good. And, you know, it's kind of interesting anyway, just to see the difference, different games, you can go through them. And it's just to see the breadth of one studio's thing. And they put a bit of, as you say, TLC into the game, some interesting games. And it's good to have that variety, but they're really kind of fun games, like without going into AAA graphics, anything like that. AAA graphics, I'm looking forward to Halo 5 when it comes out in October, but this is really, it's really kind of fun, and it's kind of like, I'm just enjoying this. It's it's just.
You know what they should do? They did it on PC, but they should do it on Xbox. Is Bitmap Brothers?
Oh yeah, totally.
Speedball and all those kind of Xenon and all the rest of them.
Sensible Soccer is on the 360, and I hope that's a game that gets back compatibility, because those are just solid games you remember, and it's like, with co-op or two-player, those games are just brilliant. They are what they are. If you were to remake them today, you'd want it the same. These things. One of the great things about it is they move really quickly because they're not hugely graphic intensive, and they just work. They're very quick, and there's none of this kind of frame rate.
They're unforgiving, though. If you remember the Bitmap Brothers games, they were really unforgiving.
Totally.
You make one pixel mistake, you're dead.
Oh, totally. And when I say the controls are controlled very well, it's not because of any technical requirements. It's just that they're kind of janky, some are inverted, whatever. They've actually released some patches to this. They've got a rewind mechanic which works really well, so you actually will be able to complete the games, because you'll just be able to, I made a mistake, I'll rewind.
Just Prince of Persia back to wherever you.
Yeah, totally. But look, really enjoying it. It's a really, it's getting a lot of good reviews, and it's just a good. They've treated it with care. It's a really good sort of nostalgic game. But not just that, it has Xbox games, but it also has, Nintendo 64 games, which we wouldn't have played never having a Nintendo 64. Again, it's a game that I hope, there's no reason in due course for that not to release on Windows 10 eventually, with a bit of a window out there, and let some of those PC gamers play some of the old Nintendo games. It's quite interesting.
We already have them. Just to say, we've got all those games, like emulators. If it's not on GOG, Good Old Games.com, they have fixed versions of all these old games, quite a lot of them, and then the rest of them that aren't on GOG are abandonware. Like abandonware is basically a thing where they assume that if the company doesn't assert their right to own the copyright, that they're abandoned it and they don't care what happens to it. So they're on emulators, and you can just play them all.
You can get the stuff. Look, it's nice they put it together in a nice package. It's not expensive. It's a buck a game, right? And it's got
$30 for
30 games. Now, some of the games are very simple, like Jetpack. Some of the games are, you'd have to buy them for 19 quid on 360. There's like 6, I think, back and pack games, which, if you bought them at their price at the moment, and you might say I wouldn't buy them for that price, but if you bought them for that price, it would be well in excess of $30.
Yeah, that's just the console marketplace, I guess.
Yeah, it is. But like, as I said, $30, it's good value for 30 games. And genuinely, the kind of worst graphic game is the one it's the only one I played, because I kind of like, let's play them in sequence.
So it's all these impressive games. You're like, no, I want the crappiest one.
No, but what I wanted to do was start the one in time, because I've never played them. So I kind of was like, I'm going to play Banjo-Kazooie 1, 2, 3. So there's no point just try. I haven't even tried the other games yet. I've seen them on interviews and stuff like that. I'm just like literally going through it. I want to play it. I wish it was on PC, because I'd be telling you right now, go get it. Let's play some of the stuff cooperatively again, and there's some online stuff like that. Like, they can't have GoldenEye because there's huge legal wranglings with that. Even though Rare made it, there'd be an issue about MGM, who sold the rights to Bond and all that sort of stuff. And there's obviously Donkey Kong Country that they made, but they couldn't release that, even though they probably own the IP, but Nintendo have rights to that. So there's all sorts of weird.
It's on the Nintendo. The boys have played it.
Yeah, but I mean, so
it's actually Donkey Kong Country, just as an aside, holds up incredibly well.
Yeah,
you can play it because the graphics are cartoony, so you don't notice the fact that the graphics are crap. They're fine.
Like Clunker, which is another Rare game, obviously does too as well. Even though it's these are Banjo-Kazooie I've never played. They say holds up. Cameo is another game on Xbox 360 I never played, and look, I've seen video of it. I'm like going, this looks really nice. I mean, cartoony. It's very colorful. Viva Pinata I've never played. I don't think that's going to actually be my big thing, because it's kind of a weird kind of thing. But 30 games, even if 5 of them are good, it's whatever. But by the way, Viva Pinata is a very well liked game. It's just, I'm not sure if it's going to be my thing. It's more of a RTX kind of thing, real-time strategy, or But so anyway, so interesting game, really nice game. Playing that as well. You were playing Talos Principle again, or what games have you been playing this week?
Yeah, so Talos Principle is quite long, so I'm still stuck in the middle of that. It's, as I mentioned last week, it's a puzzle game like Portal. and the puzzles get harder as you go on. So the first world has, I don't know, maybe 50 puzzles or something, and they were really easy. Like it was just dun 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 out, dun 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 out, which got a little bit tedious after a while. You're like, these are too easy. But then the second world, they start to be, okay, that, and then that, and then that, and then out. And then by the third world, you have to actually put some thought into them. So it's very gradual progression. But I've gotten close to you can skip between worlds once you open enough stuff up. And then you have to choose. So you got a voiceover god who's saying, my child, you must choose to go this way. And then you can kind of choose if you want to defy him and go where he can't see you, and then try and open this tower thing. So I don't know. It's a very good game. It's well worth playing.
I have a huge backlog of games. I just need to go and play them now and stop buying new games and just play the ones I have. Because honestly,
yeah, but that's what I was going to say. You buy like 5 games a week.
Yeah,
I can't keep up with playing 1 game a month that I buy.
The problem is like a lot of the games I buy, I really like the event games. So like you buy Season Pass for like Life is Strange and Borderlands, and it's like they're all releasing episodes. So like you've got a different one every month, and you're like, how do I, whatever. No, I totally, and like I pre-ordered Halo, but that's not coming out till October, November, and so. But I need to, when I get to October, November, I need to clear my backlog and completed all these games. So we'll see. Okay, what have you been watching? We saw some trailers this week. Deadpool trailer. It looks like really good fun. Ryan Reynolds going to try and make this.
Yeah, the sneak peek was very funny.
Yeah, I did see that.
About that
online.
So he was so pissed off the first time around because he was in. Was it the X-Men movie or was it something? Wolverine. Yeah, where they sewed his mouth shut, and he's known as the Merc with a mouth, and he has a mouth shown shut, which makes no sense at all. And Ryan Reynolds only did that movie because he loves the comic book character Deadpool so much, which is why he's come back to do it again, to do it properly.
Yeah.
The trailer features the bit that was leaked last year, I think, or maybe 18 months ago or something. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that, where he goes into the car through so he's sitting on an overpass and listening to what's the name, Gwen Stefani on his radio, and then he just flips and goes into this car and then beats the crap out of the guys that are in the car.
Yeah.
Which was incredibly impressive last year, and it leaked, and I don't think, from the looks of the trailer, I don't think they intentionally leaked it.
Sure.
Because the trailer is mostly based around that scene.
Yeah. Yeah,
it looks great. Kind
of a nice archy character kind of thing going on there. It looks very like this is not like PG-13 stuff. This is like Punisher style, kind of like, yeah, we're going to be swearing, we're going to be killing people in gore ways. This is not for kids.
Yeah, the R-rated trailer is great, which shows you it's an R-rated movie. It's a proper movie. It's not like like I'm guessing the new Fantastic Four is going to be PG.
Yeah,
I don't know. I could check, but I'm guessing. Most of these movies tend to be PG, and really you need something that's a bit.
R-rated would be a commercial disaster for them, so they just won't do it. Even if it's cut that way, they'll just recut it. That's what's happened famously in so many of these things.
But they know that the audience for Deadpool are probably guys in their 30s and 40s. So you can have it R-rated. Like Deadpool, it wouldn't be done well if they tried to do a PG version.
Honestly, sometimes you go, look, if you didn't want to make Deadpool, don't make it. But if you're not going to make it, you can't make it for 12-year-olds. 12-year-olds shouldn't be going near the comic, let alone whatever. These serious sources are. It's a bit like Punisher. It has to be Frank Castle, gritty, and something like that.
Oh yeah, all the Punisher movies have been great. Actually, they keep flopping. Yeah, but they've all been really good.
Yeah, even back to whatever. They always they had merit. Although I haven't seen the most.
Because he's an interesting character. He really doesn't give a crap. He just wants to kill everyone.
The Marvel Daredevil with him next year might be good. Let's see. With Daredevil. Daredevil.
In the TV show.
I know, but if Punisher was to go into that show as well, which I think my understanding is season 2 might be more about, that could make it more interesting, you know.
So they got Elektra and Punisher.
I think so, yeah.
But they're both like they're gray area goodies, but they're still goodies.
We'll see. I mean, as I said, I know you had your reservation about the series we talked about before. We won't talk.
Oh, I'm never watching another episode. It was terrible.
But yeah, I don't know. But if season 2 did take a new bent to it with real Punisher, you might look at Punisher stuff and you go, okay, well, I'm back in. You never know. You never know. Like
I seriously doubt it because it was the writing again. It just fell apart for me. But I'm by far in the minority. Like, I've watched review shows about the last episode of Daredevil, and I went in expecting them to go, oh, well, that was terrible. And they went, that was the best TV this year, blah, blah, blah. So, as I say, I'm in the minority, but I did not like that show.
Sure. Okay, what are you watching on TV? Did you see
so,
this week?
I've been watching Comic Book Men, which just came on Netflix. So they, it's a reality show, pretty much. It's Kevin Smith owns a comic book store in New Jersey called Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash.
And this is like the third season. It's been going on for a while.
Yeah, it's third season. It's a very popular show on AMC.
Okay.
So after they've lost Mad Men and Breaking Bad have ended, this is kind of probably one of their most popular shows. So it's set in a comic book store that Kevin Smith owns, and essentially it's just a basic reality show where these people come in with comic books and they say, hey, it's, first appearance of Batman or something. And then the guy behind the counter, Walt, then goes, okay, well, you see, the fact that the cover is slightly damaged means that it's not worth as much as you think it's worth, and that kind of stuff, and then offers them money and they say yes or no. Is essentially the plot of it. But then they fill in the rest with some fun kind of nerd trivia stuff. So the one I just watched, for instance, they got the Bat Cycle from the 60s Batman TV show.
Yeah.
And then they put it on a lowrider, the
car.
Huh?
Lowrider car?
Yeah, the trucks that they use in movies so that actors don't actually have to drive. So they put it on a lowrider and they drive around, they pretend they're Batman. So that was quite fun. And then they had Dean Cain on in a previous episode. It was 75th anniversary of Superman, and they had Dean Cain on from Lois and Clark, and they invited him down for the 75th anniversary of Superman, and they have all these like decorations and loads of people there and Superman cloaks and stuff, and they say, oh, thank you so much for coming down, and they make a little speech, and then they give him like a present, like a box. And he opens the present, and it's $100 gift certificate for the comic book store is his present. And you can just see his face going, thanks a lot, guys. I'm never coming back here again, but thank you. And then they go, hey, come and cut the cake. So he goes over to cut the cake, and then they just walk off. So he's left just serving cake for the entire evening. It's just, like, I don't know. It's reality TV, so it could have been staged. Like, they could have organized it with him beforehand and say, okay, now you're pissed off because you have to serve cake all night or whatever. But it was quite a fun show.
Yeah, I've been watching. I've never heard of that, I have to say. And
there's three seasons on Netflix for you to watch.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've seen it on Netflix. It may just be your region, but we'll see. I haven't watched True Detective. Nothing much to say. There's a bit of a big, shocking, finale at the end of the last.
Yes, I only saw the headline.
Yeah.
But the headline I saw from Vulture or somewhere was, "Who's the killer in True Detective, and who still cares?" So,
and that could be it. I mean, it's interesting. Although, I thought something. Just I'll echo what I said before. It certainly was not writing, but again, there was tension in this episode. The whole thing is being based on tension, of which, to be fair, I think the director is creating tension, like set pieces and story. But in terms of writing, specific lines, dialogue, there's nothing particularly fantastic going on here at all. It's an action sequence, or moment-to-moment sequence, if that's maybe a better way of saying that. But still, it's still intriguing enough, and certainly was left with quite a cliffhanger. Just if anyone wants to it's keeping up with it. It's certainly interesting to see where it's going, and one presumes people might stay dead this time. Anyway, one thing I want to ask you about, because I never got to see the video, but I'm kind of interested, is you saw the show called Blunt Talk, which is a show with Patrick Stewart, and you're saying, could this be the new newsroom? I mean,
well, new newsroom is a bit of a stretch. I think I saw some more stuff about it. Huh?
Is it a comedy, or is this kind of trying to?
Yeah, it's a comedy. It's more like a broad kind of comedy than Newsroom. Newsroom's obviously got a few funny moments, but it's not a comedy.
Sure. And where's that going to play, or where did you catch it, or whatever? Or is it just?
I just saw the trailer on YouTube, so I'm not sure which station it's on.
Either. I'm looking at IMDb, and kind of just the best. Anyway, Patrick Stewart always good for a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the looks of the trailer, it didn't particularly grab me. It was,
Stars.
Oh, stars. Yeah, stars tend to be good.
Yeah, Outlander.
We've got Outlander now.
Have you been watching that?
Huh?
Outlander.
Have I watched it?
No.
No, it's not been here.
Yeah.
Some Star stuff is on HBO and Nordic, and some isn't. So I really want Da Vinci's Demons on HBO Nordic and make it much easier to watch.
Sure.
And Outlander, I'd love to see. It's mostly a romancy thing, but we like the period things, me and Heidi. So
good period thing. There's some interesting stuff. It's much about there's a time travel element to it, but also it's about, in many respects, it's a woman's tale about finding your place out of time, but with skills. So there's a lot going on. It's a good show. There's a lot of sex as well, and that kind of sex and romance, there's an element of that to it. But equally, it's a smart show, and it's empowering. It's doing different things for male and female protagonists. It's a bit of role reversal going on here. It's kind of.
The book's got rave reviews, obviously.
Yeah, I mean it certainly has a passionate fan base. I'd be interested. I'm not sure. I think it's good, and I'm looking forward to seeing season 2. But I'm not sure if you watched it, you'd say to me there was any great writing going on here. But there's definitely great concepts, and this comes back to this idea.
I'm not just looking for writing. It's just sometimes writing is so bad that I go, okay, I can't watch this.
But there's some interesting monologues, inner monologues. Kind of like there's almost a narration to self. Which so there's some writing there, you know what I mean. But the characters are definitely have a developed. You might say they're basic. I think there's a good character development. There's a rationale for each character. You can kind of get a picture of it, and they're relatively I wouldn't say consistent, but because people aren't necessarily consistent, but consistently consistent, or inconsistent, or whatever. But it's definitely an interesting show, and definitely doing different things, and interesting. If it was on, I'd definitely say to have a look and make your own decision for sure.
I think it's probably on TV. It's just I can't be bothered to watch TV at a specific time and sit through ads and stuff. It's just
no, and it's a show that would be good to actually kind of not marathon through in a couple of days, but to get a good chunk of it and see if you like. I'd be interested to see if you what you thought of it if and when it inevitably comes to Netflix or HBO. So it'd be interesting to see that for sure. Okay, well, I think there were also trailers out there, although I didn't see them, for Zoolander 2. I've certainly heard about that dropping in the last.
Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know. I'll reserve judgment. There wasn't much in the trailer.
Exactly. I mean, those are the kind of things where it's you really don't want to get near it, because a lot of that stuff is the comedy, and you want to go in not really knowing what the story is and not sort of hearing all the good jokes or whatever it is. Sometimes with those things, if you like Zoolander, you just want more of it, and hopefully it's just zany, and hopefully they'll catch the same. I mean,
it's a big risk, though. Anchorman 2, for instance, wasn't good, in my opinion.
It didn't work. Sometimes the joke doesn't work second time round. Zoolander was a film I did not like first time I saw it, and then the second time round I was just like, this is genius.
Yeah, Zoolander was great. Yeah, it was so funny. They go to the petrol station, they're just spraying each other with petrol.
Yeah, but it also was of its time, because it's been referenced since. That whole idea is almost became a thing, and that was cool about it at the time. and you kind of go, can you meta yourself in a movie? Like, do we want to see it again, or does it need to live in time?
I think
does it have a purpose outside of that character anymore? So there's a reason why Bill and Ted's. I still think the second movie worked, although a lot of people don't. I think you're the same. You're not quite as keen on the second movie. And
no, I like the second movie better than the first.
Yeah, well, I'd actually agree with you on that one. And I think it can work when they're talking about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure 3 or whatever, 3, because it comes like down to, well, if you do the same time travel story that you did before, the same type of thing, and both actors kind of seem to have aged well, particularly Keanu Reeves, not seen Alex Winter in too long, but
well, he's directing now, so he's
if you can do that and have a same clever story enveloped into the old narrative, it can really work as long as it's been thought out and properly written, and the comedy is good. Definitely that can happen. And there's a lot of things that you could refer to meta style, but equally it might be better left. If you're not going to think it out and you're not going to whatever, maybe to be left, as an idea.
It's just, I think it's just you risk harming the original movie by making a crappy second one. Like Dumb and Dumber, I didn't like the original Dumb and Dumber, but the new one people were saying was just, it made you sad that they'd sunk to such depths.
Yeah.
Like that Jim Carrey was just not funny anymore. And Ben Stiller, I think, is a smart guy. I mean, he's director and writer and all the rest of it. So maybe he'll pull out all the stops for it, but it's a big risk.
Yeah, but in fairness to him, he's a funny guy and he's good. He's done a lot of different things and he has a bit of range. It's not a huge range, but he's done some things. He's a clever guy, as you say. He's a smart guy, and if the material is good here, there's potential. But one question's about what was the plot? There actually was a plot to Zoolander. It was the
Magatu, yeah,
Magatu, whatever. But what's going on now? And if they have an idea, that's fine. If it's just another case of a bit of posing and a bit of more Zoolander, it's that's fine if you're doing an MTV 50-minute skit. You know what I mean? Or go to Saturday Night Live and do a really cool 50-minute Zoolander kind of thing again, right? If that's all you have in terms of material, that would be nice. That would be kind of, oh, isn't that cool? That's kind of meta. But if not,
we saw that with Sacha Baron Cohen when he did what's the name of his German?
Borat
no, Borat was good, but Bruno.
Bruno, yeah.
That was weak. It wasn't a strong enough character to support a movie, and. Yeah. I think you're right that it's kind of its time, that the fashion industry now everyone knows is a joke.
Well, so, they did then too. The question is, can you do it twice? I mean, and look, you might be able to. But we'll see. We'll definitely have to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I think that is all the topics we're going to talk about this week, and we kind of reached the hour 15-minute mark. Hour 15-minute mark. So we'll probably end the podcast there. Meanwhile, anyone listening to this podcast, and you catch us on iTunes and the usual places such as Simon's website at simoncanton.com, where you'll also find a lot of Simon's books that he's written. Anything in particular that you're featuring on your blog site at the moment, Simon? Obviously, he's there.
So we got some interesting. So Bite of a King, the last book in the Bitterend series, I'm just finishing up.
Okay.
So that'll be out soon. So it's a good time to kind of read the Bite on the Line, because by the time you finish that book, I'm thinking of bringing out a box set with the entire series for a discount, which you could pick up all 6 books for maybe $10 or something like that.
Okay, now you can pick that up on your website?
Yeah, or my website, Amazon, iTunes, anywhere books are sold, pretty much.
Yeah, again, all the links you can find at simoncanton.com. You can also get Simon on Twitter at scanton, at scanton. You can catch me at Bad Barrister. You can ask us questions about what you want to talk about in next week's show. You can ask Simon about his books that he's written, and how you're getting on at the new chapters, etc. I know your chapters are finished, etc. When you ask Simon, he can tell you. Other than that, you can catch us on next week's show, which will be our 24th. And please, if you do, try and, as I say, set the agenda, give us a buzz on Twitter, and we will try and format the next podcast to deal with some of those questions.
You know, we're going to need sound effects for the next one.
Why?
Do, do, do. Like the 24 countdown.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. 24 episodes. Can you believe it? Yeah, wow.
Flying by.
Maybe we should talk about 24. Maybe that should be the headline for next.
Well, I don't think there's that much to talk about.
The films and TV shows of Kiefer Sutherland.
We can certainly talk about Kiefer Sutherland's other stuff, but I think 24 is a short conversation.
Solid. He's the new Solid Snake. He is Jack Bauer. He was in The Lost Boys. Join us, Michael. I can't remember what his name was as that vampire. He was in A Few Good Men. He's been in a lot of things. He's even been a KKK member in Time to Kill. His list goes on, like his dad, who continues to act, who was also in A Time to Kill. But anyway, until next week's Kiefer Sutherland podcast, we're out. See ya.
Bye.